Welcome, everybody, back to the show. Today, we have Kris Krohn, a man who, by the time he graduated college, had 25 rental properties under his belt, and to date has done over 6,500 single family home deals. He's buying a house a day, and honestly, he spends accordingly an hour a month on real estate. And I want to know why he does that because I think it's incredible. So today, we're having Kris on the show to talk about all of that. Kris, well, thank you for coming on, man.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. And yeah, I mean, think about it. It's a little preposterous sounding, right? You spend an hour a month, nurturing this massive portfolio. We've done $2 billion worth of real estate, which it's more of a systems conversation than anything, because in the beginning, when I started investing in real estate, I learned that if I had to repeat myself more than once, if I had to do a process more than once, then there had to be a best way of doing it. And then it just became a game of what's the most efficient way, and then how do I automate it? And so that's part of how I got here.
No, I would love to talk about that towards the end of the podcast. But the thing I want to focus on, I'm 21. I'm just graduating college. I know a bunch of kids who are heavily ambitious, and we all get out of college. I was lucky enough to get started when I was 17 in business, but I have not accumulated as much wealth that you had by the time you got out of school. What triggered you? I believe it was a conversation with your girlfriend at the time, triggered you to try to get 25 rental properties under your belt by the time you graduated?
It didn't start off with 25 rental properties. It started off with wanting to be a doctor. Like, I went to college like, oh, I'm going to go into the sciences and biology, and then I'm going to become a doctor, and then I'm going to make, $500,000 a year. And that was my plan since I was a teenager. And then when I got into a really competitive university and I took organic chemistry and got a C, my advisor said, you're not going to make it. Like, you can't even get into your pre-med if you're getting C's. Take the class again. So I took it again. I found a cute girl who was ace in the class to help me figure it out. Dude, I got a worse grade on my second go around. And that's when I was just like, okay, this is not my path. And that's when I learned I had gotten a blessing from my faith when I was young that said I should pursue something that comes natural to me. And I remember just reading that blessing again and just saying, this does not come natural to me. Yeah. And so I decided to do something different. And I kind of did what I think a lot of other college kids do. I started kind of checking out the other majors, and I'd ask this questions like, oh, what's this job? And what do they make? What's this job? What do they make? I'm like, 60 grand a year, 80 grand a year, 100 grand a year, 70 grand a year, 30 grand a year. I'm like, dude, this blows. I'm going to college, going to go into all this debt. And then I'm going to go get like a normalish job, because the average college graduate exits making $50,000 a year, or not really more money than a non-college grad. And it just, I don't know, it just disappointed me. And so it's not like I wanted to be wealthy. I actually, if I'm being really honest, what really upset me is that I was going to have a job I likely didn't like, and then I was going to have to do it for 40 years, and it was going to suck the life out of me, because I was doing a telemarketing job at the time. I'm like, dude, work blows. And I wasn't lazy. Like, I got a German immigrant father. I'm like, I want to work. I want to work even hard. But dude, what's the point of doing something that sucks? 85% of people do something for work that they don't like. And so I'm like, dude, this is just a bad setup. And that's what really inspired me. I've got to go outside the school system and start figuring out what other people are doing. And that's what eventually, helped me land my first real estate investor who had made over $10 million. And I was like, whoa, what? He's like, yeah, this dude had been traveling for years, hadn't worked for years, had been living in Thailand with his wife. He was in his 30s. And I'm like, what do you do for work? He's like, well, I don't work. I own real estate and it just pays. I'm like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Shocker moment where I think that's when I caught the bug, and I was like, there's a rare breed of people out there that are outsmarting the system. So it wasn't even real estate that excited me. It was learning to think outside and just say, this is my job to break the system. If it's my life, I want to live my best life possible.
It's a great way to go about life. And talking about blessings, you were blessed with being able to meet somebody who had already made 10 million in real estate. We have a mutual friend now, Jason Byers. He came on your mastermind event. He's one of my mentors in real estate. And Excellent. He and I went to high school together. And in our group of high school, and this is probably high schools across America, there's a lot of people who don't meet mentors that just think, oh, this is the only way. It's 9 to 5 or nothing. And I have to get in debt, and I have to work 40 years, 1 week vacation a year, and that's it. And I look up to people like you, Robert Kiyosaki, early on with Jason, and we're like, dude, there are people that are killing it in things that I don't understand. How do I learn? And the fact that you had a mentor early on, I think that's a great place to start. What would you advise a young person, maybe 19, 20, 21, like how would they find a mentor these days? People probably are like, I want Kris to be my mentor, but you're too busy and you have too much money. You can't really help somebody, even if you want to, like a 19-year-old kid. How do people go out and find mentors like you did early on?
Well, if I can, I want to reframe the question for just a second.
Yeah.
Um, Getting a mentor is the number one shortcut to getting where you want to go as quickly and fast as possible. So if you take a look at the way you're actually structured to learn, you're told to read books and go to school.
Yeah.
And the problem with that methodology is that you get on the conveyor belt model doing what everyone's doing. And guess what school doesn't teach? It doesn't teach how to be a millionaire. It doesn't teach finance. It doesn't really teach accounting. It doesn't teach life skills for what you really need. What it teaches you how to do is be a cog in someone's machine. Yeah. And so the bigger the question that you have to start with, even before where do I find a mentor, is do I want a mentor? And here's what it is. Like, well, what does that really mean? That's such a big idea. Here's what it means. Go find someone that has already won the game of life. They figured out how to be healthy. They figured out happy marriage. They figured out how to make the money. They figured out how to be connected to God. So you got this balanced human being that has hacked it and figured it out. That person, if they give you a roadmap to get where they got, then you can get what they got. And so I think that's the bigger thing. And so I want to start first, even with just this idea that it's not just about, I want to be financially successful. I actually think that we have to define wealth. And wealth means I got a healthy, fit body that's going to take care of me. And it's full of energy because of the way I feed it and the way that I work it. Number two, I got to be connected to God, because if I'm not connected to higher source and higher power, then I'm just going to be a selfish child of God brat that's just going to put me before everyone else. And why should I steward money if that's the case? Number three, your greatest wealth is found in your loved ones. And so if you prioritize money over loved ones, which millionaires do all the time, which is why they wind up not broke, but divorced. And it's like, prioritize those three games along with learning the game of money. And then in each of those areas, dude, it's really simple. It's just like, I did bodybuilding competitions. Like, how did I figure out how to do that game? It was simple. I found bodybuilders. And then bodybuilders showed me how to bodybuild, right? And it's like, well, how'd you, figure out how to better marriage game? It's like, I found someone that had a freaking awesome marriage and learned how to decode it and give me the code, right? And well, how'd you do that in the other games of life? Well, a mentor is just someone that has been where you want to be times 10. That's my definition. A mentor is where you want to. You want to say, I want to be a millionaire, then you better mentor someone that's made 10 million.
10 million,
yeah. Now, by the way, this is a really big idea, because, Alex, there's a lot of people that they don't understand what a mentor is, and they don't have a standard. So they're like, well, my mom is my mentor. Like, no, she's not. No. Your mom's your mom. And there's some things that she does well, but here's the truth. You taking financial advice from broke human beings, and this is the dumbest thing we do. Your buddy's broke. Hey, tell this is the money. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why are we filling our brain with idiotic ideas? The concept of a mentor is a standard of someone that has achieved a level of knowledge through practical application, relevancy today, that can walk circles around your goal. That's who you want advising you.
And to go back to the question, how do you find that person for you? Let's just, because I also am aligned with the thought that you should have a mentor with your health, your wealth, your love, and your happiness separate. I don't think just having one person like your mom telling you what to do is very feasible. Is it LinkedIn? Do you just like start becoming the type of person?
No. I like this. So you're looking for a technical, hardcore answer. So I'll start with this. I believe that we're all natural magnets. We're attracting stuff. So the reason why you have to start with, do you want a mentor, is that the moment you make the decision, it's going to put something in your awareness. Like, have you ever bought a car and then the only car you ever see driving on the road is the brand and style of car that you got? This is a very important principle. So you have an activated reticular system in the back of your head.
Yes.
And what it does is it says, yo, you're taking in 20 million bits of information per second, but I can only reduce it down to 200 or 300, 400 pieces. So it's just like everything's available, but you can only see a drop in the ocean. And so it's biased, right? Of like, well, what drop do you want to see? And it's like, well, it's whatever you believe in. So when you say, I have a mentor, before you even have one, I have one, I got a mentor, then all of a sudden the idea of mentor, it's like starts showing up in your feed, the people you start looking at on social media, you're like, dude, that person can be I'm going to DM that person. Oh, they didn't respond, but this one did. And when you say, well, Kris, you're too busy to be a mentor, the truth is, my life is, I've slowed it down and I've automated so much that actually the game I love to play more than anything is passing the knowledge on to the willing learner. And so I'm looking for someone that's ready to scoop up and gobble up all the knowledge and take action on it. That's a worthy person for me. So we exist and we're out there, but you have to know that you want them and you declare it. And then, dude, they're going to start coming into your purview.
One of my favorite quotes is, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, which goes directly in line with what you just said. And then also Joe Dispenza, just remembering the future. I don't know if you listen to Joe, but he talks about like, once the energy field is out there, your thoughts become things. I just had Peter Cal on the podcast, we are
Yeah.
totally aligned with just this idea that it has to be built in your brain first before you
Yeah.
can just have a mentor, right? That's
Well,
awesome.
and Joe's got a great book. You Are the Placebo. I love recommending books. That book is for sure a top 100.
Yeah.
Out of all the books I've read, it's definitely worthy read. And it is, there's a great volume of work out there from people that do support what I would say is the technical creation story of God. Like
Yeah.
God's in the beginning in Genesis. He's like, hey, now this is a little bit urban, okay? But God's like, dude, there's stuff over there. We should make a planet. Well, he thought it, he spoke it, and then it happened. And creation works that way for all of us. So you do have to put awareness in, oh, this place is dry, dude. We need some water down there. And then let there be water. There wasn't water before it was spoken. It was after. So you're really talking about how do you put it in your awareness? And that's the beginning of getting a mentor. I want a mentor that can help me get to a 5% body fat. I want a mentor that will help me make my marriage like the most amazing thing on God's green earth. I want a mentor that will help me make, well, shit, I've never made 100,000 in a year. I want a mentor that help me make $250,000 in a year. I believe that's possible. Boom. Just the decision is what starts creating the possibility of doors opening to let them come in.
That's amazing. It's a great place to start the podcast because it's like foundational step one. So if we went from step one to step two, which is like now the thought is there, you're like, okay, I'm thinking different. I know that there's something better for my life out there. I don't want to be stuck in this small town anymore. I'm going to go out and build something, which is to the conversation you had with this girl of like, oh shoot, I need to provide for our relationship. Now like what options are open to me? Maybe I should get a rental property, right? And then you graduate college with 25 of them. I'm curious. My question is like, even just having one rental property is a challenge. How do you graduate college with 25 of them cash flowing 12,000 a month?
With all due respect, you just revealed the problem. Getting one is a challenge. That's an idea. And we have to be aware that ideas are very dangerous. So when you're like, well, step one, find a mentor, what's step two? I think that you should watch everything that you think and say, because we are literally walking, talking, self-fulfilling prophecies, manifesting everything. So I meet people all the time. They're like, oh yeah, New Year's resolution this year, I want to double my income. By the way, money is bad, rotten, and evil, and you'll do bad things with it, and people hurt people with money, and it's hard to make. And I'm like, got it. So you say you want it, but then your head is full of shit. These limiting ideas and notions that basically say it's not possible. And what they're going to do is they're going to cancel each other out. Your mind is very sensitive, because here's what your mind is really, it's an antenna. And what you're doing is you're emitting a frequency. So when you say my frequency is to double my income, but I believe that money is evil. Well, guess what? Your frequency sucks. You're not going to create, you're not going to track something to you that says you can have the money while you become evil along the way. And that's what we do. We're filled with these limiting beliefs. So the second thing is, I think it's really important for people to start reading works in personal development of positive thought strategy. Don't Believe Everything You Think is another great book. And start consuming information out there, because remember, your formal schooling does not teach you how to be successful. It doesn't teach you how to achieve. It teaches you how to be a cog. If you want to be successful, then you've got to start reading a literary set of works that will give you the kind of thoughts and ideas to produce that poverty. How did I get to a rental? Well, it's really simple. I made up my mind. I said, I'm going to do a deal. And my mentor said, okay, you need three things. And he gave me three pieces of advice. He said, you need $5,000 in the bank. You need another year at that job. You need to get 2 more credit cards. Then you can just go for traditional qualifying. Dude, I had my heading. For 14 months, I just did that advice. And in my brain every day, it was real simple. $5,000 is my down payment. 2 more credit cards equals balancing my credit out. 1 more year at the company means that I have 2-year work history. I can be in college and I can acquire a house. And that's exactly what happened. And by the 14th month I was ready, my mentor wasn't even at my side. I just felt inspired. God said, drive home a different way. Took the circuitous route, something I normally wouldn't have done. There was a for sale by owner on the side of the road, even had the price, $110,000 for this little piece of shit. And I walked up to the door, I knocked on it, I talked to the woman. I did the dumbest thing. I had no idea what I was doing. I negotiated. I said, can I buy your house for $100,000 for $10,000 less? She slammed the door in my face, and I'm like, well, that's stupid. I just don't even know what I'm doing. So I knocked again. I'm like, can you at least show me the house? Doberman pinchers were in there. There was shit literally on the ground, turds everywhere. I'm like, smelled like smoke. I'm like, wow, this place is a total dump. But because my dad raised me in construction, I had the vision. I said, this could be something special. Took the address to my mentor. My mentor's like, that house is worth $150,000. And if you do the sweat equity, listen, you're just going to get some paint. You're going to do it some of yourself. It'll cost you a little bit. Well, I followed the advice and I bought that house and I rented out the basement and it covered my mortgage. So I live for free. And so it was actually at the time then my wife, Alex, it was like, wow, geez, live for free. Like, we should do this again. She was nervous, but I used the equity a year later and I used it to buy my second house. Then I rented out for made $600 a month. Plus I was $90,000 richer because I bought it $90,000 below market. And that's when I figured out, is like, okay, let me get this straight. My college professor makes $100,000 a year and I don't, but I just bought a house with $90,000 of equity just by signing on the dotted line because I took a few critical moves. I increased my net worth just as much as he made spending 2,000 hours a year working. Yeah. And I literally did it in like an hour. And all of a sudden the light bulb went on. I was like, okay, there's something going on here. And that's when I just said, okay, I want more. And, you know, when you decide what you want, we talked about activating the reticular system. And then I attracted the people that got me more homes. Cause on my own, I did my first 3 homes and then I got bogged down. It was my father-in-law that looked at what I was doing. He was like, dude, I kind of thought you were stupid when you bought your first house. I kind of thought you were nuts when you're buying your second house. Wondered if you're getting a divorce on the third house. Yeah. But clearly you're doing something that's working. And so he started asking me questions and started calculating. He's like, oh my gosh, this kid is making crazy good money. That's way better than my 401k IRA. He said, what if I give you money for your next deal? And we split it 50-50. And that gave birth to 2,000 partners I have today. And if they will buy one rental, my goal over 20 years is to turn it into $12 million that we split equally. And now people have a real path to retirement instead of a 401k or IRA. That's eventually what it turned into, Alex.
Wow. And what's like the moment you get out of college, and I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but you have 25 rentals. I keep bringing the podcast back to that, but I think that's brilliant. And you realize like people are just getting out of college, starting their career, and you could essentially, if you wanted to, end your career basically.
I'm finished. Yeah, there was a crazy moment because I remember waking up that morning, turning to my wife, and I'm just saying, "Is today the day?" And she said, "Kris, you could have done this anytime in the last 2 years." I'm like, "Okay, I think I'm done feeling nervous." You see, my company was paying me $135,000 a year. My real estate was making me $150,000 a year passively. So I was trading full time for $135,000, and I was making $150,000 with no time. Yeah. And that's when it hit me one day. I'm like, what could you do if you actually applied yourself? So I drove into my boss's. I parked. Went up to my boss's office, knocked on his door, and just said, "Bro, this has been great. I'm done." Actually, I wigged out right before, and I'm like, "Give me a $70,000 raise," because I thought $200,000 would keep me a little longer. And he laughed and he said, "No." And I was like, I was grateful. I was like, "No, seriously though, thank you for the job. It's been great 4 years." And so the year that I graduated college, I quit my job, moved into a 10,000 square foot home, and that year I tripled my income. I lost my job income. I was now making $350,000. Next year, I made $500,000. And I learned the value of time. All I was doing was really arbitraging. I was playing a game that would just make me a lot more money than a stupid college degree.
You know, it's interesting. In one of your podcasts, and you've talked about this in content before, up until like you say your first 100 houses, like the game that you were playing was, I wouldn't know if you qualify as a mistake, but you were like the first decade of you in business, you were like, yeah, I was playing the wrong game. You know, you were doing the 50-50 split with investor and then doing sweat equity. What is your takeaway? Because even doing 100 different rental units, like that is an amazing accomplishment. But then you started shifting the model right after that.
Well,
point,
an amazing accomplishment, but dude, I was 27 years old. It's not like I was peaking. I still had decades in front of me. So if I had done 100, and 100 does, I get that sounds like, wow, that's a really big number, but I just want to inform everybody. It's not like I was doing the work. I would write this down. If you want something done right, don't do it yourself.
Yeah.
This is the paradigm moment, Alex, that broke everything for me. I was at 25 homes. At that moment, I was still technically going to school full-time, working full-time, and I had my real estate full-time. Hardly saw my wife, and I was stressed out. Like my hair was just ripping the hair out of my head. So frustrated. And it's because my dad told me when I was 16 years old, I said, "Dad, we should expand the company, your construction company. You should grow it, get another work team. Let's do more projects." Just being a dumb kid. My dad's like, "Son, if you want something done right, you do it yourself." And so I made that my philosophy till 26 years old, when I just said, screw that. I don't like that. Let's turn it around. What if when you want something done right, you don't do it? And I started finding a model where I could walk away from 10% of the profit, keep 90% of the money, but walk away from 100% of the work. My eyes were open. I was like, holy cow, I am never going to play the game of money the way that my dad ever taught me ever again. And that was when I learned about scale. And so, 25 turned into 50 the next year. And then afterwards, 50 turned into 100. Then 100 turned into 1,000. It was just like, it's just a system. Today it's still doing its thing. It doesn't require any time for me, but it's just doing its thing. And it's elegant, sophisticated, and brilliant. And every one of us is capable of building a machine that just makes money. You just got to not reinvent the wheel, find something that makes you a little bit unique in the marketplace, do that thing over and over again, master it, hand it off, build a team, let them do it for you. You're rich.
Yeah. Easy said. It's a little more challenging to apply. And I do know like that you underestimate. I mean, you've spent your life building this, and you're big into systems, which is huge. I think a lot of people don't get big into systems, and that probably would destroy a lot of entrepreneurs. They're like, I'll do it myself. I won't be able to systemize. I won't be able to partner up with people. And then they stay as like the solopreneur.
I actually think, Alex, there's two things that kill people's ability to scale and go really big.
Okay.
The first one is they have a bad attitude. No one else on this planet is responsible for your attitude. So in truth, if you walk around having a glass half full, or you're skeptical because you've been burned before, who hasn't, dude? If you're walking around negative because you've been through hard shit and your childhood was difficult, mom didn't love you or dad, like we all have that. You're either going to give into your story, and I don't mean to minimize it, but I am just saying at one point you got to grow up, which means put your big boy pants on and then go do something epic with your life. Like, no one was going to feed you a silver spoon. No one had this job to like line everything up for you, because no one did that for me. You have to believe in yourself. You're in charge of your energy. You have the onus and responsibility to decide who you are as a human being. And most human beings, they breathe shallow, they hang their head low, they're depressed, and they're waiting for someone to make them happy and feel gooder. I got news for you. That person is you. You're the hero that you've been waiting for. And so, yeah, read some of these books about controlling your energy in life. That's the first thing that you're going to need. You're going to need to command your energy in a good way. That's big. Here's the second thing that everyone needs if you want to win. It has nothing to do with business or real estate or anything. You have to have integrity. You have to become a person that does what they say they're going to do. And you should get a score. If I give you 10 things, how many will you do on time? The average person, 5. A good person, 7. You're fired. I would never work with you. If you're not literally a 9.8 out of 10, I'm not having no business dealings with you. That's called a standard. And in your own life, if you can't do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, your marriage is going to suffer. You'll likely end up getting a divorce. You're going to be fat. Your commitment on your body is going to look like shit. And ultimately, you're not going to have the money you want. If you want to stand out from the crowd, it's very simple. It's very easy to quote unquote show up bigger and better than everyone else. Just do what you say you're going to do. If you command your energy in the right way and you do what you say you're going to do, nothing will stop you. You literally can go anywhere. I'm not special. I don't have magic powers. I wasn't built with a brain, where God spent extra time and energy on me. Literally, I had these 2 things, and that's all I needed to get where I've gone.
I love it. I think integrity is the most important thing. I say to everybody, if nothing else matters, it's like every time I say something, I'm going to do something, it will happen. I will do it. Even if it, hurts me in some way. It's like, I said I'm going to do it. It's my commitment. It's going to happen.
And Alex, I'll ride with you, bro. If you are that way, if that's the kind of man you are, that's a person I can build empires with.
I love it. I love that. I know we have 5 minutes left. I want to respect your time. I'll do some rapid fire and then I'll let you go.
Let's take 10 minutes. Go ahead.
All right. So I want to ask, out of the 6,500 homes, I assume that you have more than 6,500. That was the last stat I looked at. But what is that cash flow a month for you in the business?
A healthy number.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just liquidated a portion of my portfolio and just cashed in. Right now, I'm cashing in about $8 million. And just cash, take home. And that's not even selling my assets. When you get good at this game and you build assets, you can make that money flow. And so I'll just say it's good.
No, I love it. And I've seen like you shift from the real estate thing to franchises, which I think your thought process behind it being like, people can start a business, which is something I chose to do, which might be in your mind the silliest option. Then you can buy a business or buy a franchise. I think like what ultimately shifted you into the franchise model is it just...
It's really, Alex, not just a franchise model. I mean, if you open up my whole universe, ultimately all financial categories flow into 2 things when it comes to anything in money. It comes to real estate and business. And franchise, frankly, is just one type of model that I believe in. Most people start a business
Yeah.
You can buy a business or you can franchise a business. The one that has the highest likelihood of winning is either buying a long-term existing business or doing a franchise. Most people start a business.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, it's what I did too. And the reason why you're still here and able to talk about it is because you have integrity and you're figuring enough things out. But the truth is, a lot of businesses fail. And the reason why they fail is it could be market dependent, but usually it's just you got to wear so many hats. I got to be a freaking marketing director and I got to figure out how to drive traffic. And then I got to get leads. And then I got to be good at sales. And then I got to sell people on stuff and figure out up and down sell models and have a CRM be organized and figure out all the operations of how to run the thing and then do all the accounting and be organized. Like it's so much that just the average person is like, I maybe have one or two skills. I don't have 13. Like that's too many hats to wear. So they're better off in most cases, buy a business where someone is automated, comes with the team. You can do that. Doesn't even necessarily take money to buy a business.
Yeah.
So you learn shortcuts, you know?
Yeah. I think seller financing. I mean, I saw early on, I think you talked about buying businesses, and I went to like Biz Buy Sell a couple of years ago just because of a video I saw of yours. And I'm looking around and now I'm like browsing different businesses that you could buy. And even like you can message people and it's like, wow, that's cool. And then older people who are selling their business are open to seller financing. And it's like, wait, you're saying I could essentially own this business and not have $1 million to buy it in cash.
You got it. Yeah.
And for a young guy like me, I'm like, I always thought you need a lot of money to make a lot of money, which isn't necessarily true. You can also
not true. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. No. And also something interesting too is like a lot of people when they think franchise, they think Subway, McDonald's, but you invest in service-based franchises like the pool one or and even the wholesaling one, which has a huge multiple. I would love for you to elaborate on that. And if anyone doesn't understand what I'm talking about, you could give a little summary too.
Yeah. I mean, if you find me on social media, you DM me, or you just start connecting with me, you're going to learn that I play a lot of different money games. And I believe that money is a game. And when you learn the rules of it, you can make good money with it. So here's the reality. My basis is I play a real estate game and it's steady, it's secure. It's usually a 20-year game. And if I help someone buy one rental, they can wind up with several $1 million. I wouldn't call that rich, but but because once you annuitize it or you turn it into a reliable cash flow, you're making a couple $100,000 a year. So everyone should own that in their portfolio. We're not taught that, but that's what they should do. Number two, I own some Bitcoin. And I'm doing the hodl. I'm doing the long game. Why? Because it's a risky asset class. I put a little money into it, but now the coin just surged at $117,000. It'll be volatile. It'll go up and down, and someday it'll be worth $1 million or 10 million. So it's like that's a stupid long game. These are both long games. Then business is a short game. That's a game for cash flow. Don't be a W-2 employee unless it's your way and your only way. And if you're going to play that game, you better be saving 20 or 30% of your paycheck and use it to invest. You can't save enough money to get to retirement. So then you buy businesses or you start businesses or you own businesses, all three of those being different categories, because you can harvest really big cash flow on them. Those are different asset classes people should consider. So a franchise, right now, literally just this morning, I'm texting with a buddy of mine. He out of Canada, he's got a really successful pizza franchise. They just got approved in 450 Walmarts across the United States. Walmart will pay for the build out, and a person needs $50,000, and they can either own 100% of it, or they can be corporate owned and corporate can run it, and they can be absentee owner and they can be a percent owner of it. And it's just like, I put 50 grand out and it pays me $50,000 a year. That's 100% cash on cash. Cool.
Yeah.
I saved up my $50,000. It's right here. It was sitting in the bank when I was stupid. And then I invested it intelligently. And now I make an extra $50,000 a year. Well, my W-2 is paying me $80,000 a year. This investment is paying me an extra 50. And I just finished my second rental that's making me an extra $12,000 a year between my first and second house. And it's like, I'm financially getting somewhere now because I'm diversified in these classes. In fact, there's a link I'll give everyone. And there's a book here that I wrote called Have It All. And this book basically says, if you put your money into these 5 different engines, you could technically become rich in 5 years. And, even if you just invest in 3 of the 5 engines, you're going to be wealthy in a lifetime. You're at least going to have several $1 million. And I don't believe that you need to be rich to be happy, but I do believe that it creates a lot of fulfillment and purpose for people when they can master the game of money so they can put their energy into their body and their relationships and the other priorities of wealth that matter too.
Yeah. And then also the link that you were referring to, what is that? Where can people go to get more information?
freewealthgift.com. So if someone goes to freewealthgift.com, they'll get a chance to learn about some of the biggest things that I'm up to right now and get free information or get my books for free. Knowledge isn't power unless applied, but books is an incredible place to begin the game. I tell my kids you should be reading at least 2 books a month for the rest of your life. And I'm not talking about pleasure novels. Like one of these books should be something to
Self-help.
teach you how to be a
Yeah.
better operator in your body and your mind, your system, right? And self-help category. The other book should be something you're mastering. If you're not a millionaire, you should be reading books on money. If you're overweight, you should be reading books on health. If you're unhappy in your marriage, you should be reading books about how to be, a beautiful lover. Those are the basic things that a person should try to master in life, because life doesn't come down at the end of the day to how much money you have. It
Yeah.
comes down to how fulfilled you are. And these are basic skills you want to be good at if you want to be fulfilled in life.
Oh, I love it. Kris, I appreciate you coming on. You dropped a lot of wisdom, and I hope that this inspires at least somebody to take action and go a different path in life. Because everyone, I think you and I both agree, everyone has greatness inside of them, and a lot of people
Yeah.
never unlock that greatness because of their own brain. They get in their own way. So I appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on, man.
You're welcome, Alex. Thanks for having me, brother.